out to this if you missed it, because it was very brief. A 90-second remarks from him, the co-chair of this Harris campaign. Let's listen to what he had to say just a little bit ago.
Good evening, Howard. Good evening, HU. I want to say good evening to all of the Harris campaign, the campaign family. Thank you for all that you have done. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in the promise of America. We still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the Vice President tonight, but you will hear from her tomorrow. She will be back here tomorrow to address not only the HU family, not only to address her supporters, but to address the nation. So thank you. We believe in you. May God bless you. May God keep you. And go HU and go Harris. Thank you all.
That was quick remarks there from Cedric Richmond there, the co-chair of the Harris campaign. Just a little bit ago, we wanted to bring you to those because it was only 90 seconds, a brief remarks saying that Kamala Harris would not be speaking to her supporters tonight there on this election eve. We also are expecting to hear from the former president in West Palm Beach, Florida. You can see the crowd already on their feet awaiting him to take the stage. And this comes as we are learning that Trump, AP is calling it in favor. Georgia going for Trump right now. Let's continue on. Let's bring in Rich one more time here on Live Now Provides. Before we hear from the former President Donald Trump, could be the next president as well. How critical was Georgia being called for him, and maybe how closer is he to regaining the White House?
Very important state. It's a state that Bill Clinton won in 1992, lost in 1996. Barack Obama was the only president to Barack Obama rather carried it, and Joe Biden certainly carried it in 2020. So it's a very critical state. It's a state that Vice President Harris spent 2 days just simply going around the state, going from event to event. They spent an enormous amount of time trying to muster the electoral votes of Georgia. I think they viewed it as absolutely critical. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily decisive, but the fact that they've lost North Carolina was the closest state Donald Trump won last time, and Georgia, which Joe Biden barely won last time by about 11,000 votes. It's something that it's a good omen for the Trump campaign.
Rich. Yeah, ultimately, Rich. Let's kind of play this out for us here. So we're talking about Trump with 247 electoral votes at this time. That means he needs 23 more. Pennsylvania has 19 electoral votes. Michigan has 15. Wisconsin 10. I've already gone over some of these little districts in Maine and Nebraska. Oh, and it looks like this is the first time I'm seeing that we're starting to see some results out of Nevada. Let's pull this up. 75% of the votes being tallied. Looks like Trump has 51, just about 51% of the vote. Harris with 47.6% of the vote. So it looks like Trump has a 3-point advantage in Nevada with 3 of the vote tabulated. Rich, your reaction?
Yes, Nevada is a state. It only has 6 electoral votes. It's really the smallest of the showdown states. It's a state that if you go back to last weekend, last Friday, for example, Vice President Harris was in Reno. Donald Trump was in North Las Vegas. The state that you have Clark County, which is 70% of the state, which includes Las Vegas, which tends to be more Democrat, and then you have Reno and Carson City kind of up on the edge, kind of on the northwestern part of the state. And then you have a lot of very rural counties. Sometimes it's very hard to have a ground game because you're talking about very few voters. But if you can really maximize yourself in some of those kind of rural areas for the Republican, it can very much benefit. The Republican presidential candidate. But I think this certainly does not bode well for President Harris in that chief. Obviously, when you're there the weekend before the election and you're in a place like Reno, it's a state that you expect to win, and it's a state that you believe is critical to your political future.
No, that is a very good point, Rich, as we're continuing to follow the latest with all of this. And I do want to put up just the other one because I think Austin talked about it where it was 23, and we were talking about it just a little bit ago, it's only 24, but this was the one vote, the one electoral vote that he did get out of Nebraska, District 1, there, Donald Trump winning that one, as it's a little bit of an interesting one with Nebraska and Maine as well. And as you're looking at this, the electoral college, the race to 270, and you talk Pennsylvania being so very, very important. What other states could be you're focusing on over the next day to get him to that 270 mark?
I think it's those blue wall states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. They were all states from 1992 through 2016. Look for the Democrats every single year, including John Kerry in 2004 when he lost. Donald Trump was